I cut this off because it was like Nora's way of saying that she doesn't want that, but you know, it can happen. Yeah. So, when it comes to this is not happening, isn't it? Hey guys, happy Monday. Hope you're all doing well. So, today's kind of like a special day for me because we're gonna talk about my ultra favorite plant, which is no other than the Monstera Deliciosa plant. So, here's what we're gonna do. Because if I start talking about Monsteras, I never ever stop. What we're gonna do is this. I will try to keep this video short. I will share all the information and all the knowledge that I know so far from them to, kind of like have all the info together, more than like the 10 to 15 minutes that Instagram allows. So we're gonna talk today about lighting, watering, the soil mix, propagation, pruning, and any potential problems you might face with them. This is Nora. This is my big Monstera girl. I have two other Monsteras, but for today, I'm gonna showcase Nora for you because I think she has all the details, all the full picture of how big Monsteras can get. Yeah, I think it's kind of evident here. Yeah, I like to hug her a lot. I think, you know what? I kind of think that because we hug her a lot here, she kind of likes it and she just leaf spams us with more leaves. You get the idea? So this is what's going on here. Yeah, I love you, my little girl. Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna show you the full picture of Nora, how she's like now, how she's placed in my living room at the moment, and then we're gonna proceed with the next steps. Let's start with the full picture of the plant. Yes. Let's start with lighting. Okay, when you first get a plant, you always have to think where the origin is from. Monsteras originate from the rainforest of Panama. Generally, you can think South America, but rainforest is the key word here. And the basic rule of rainforests is this: no tree or plant gets that direct sunlight on them. None of it. So, they do well in bright indirect light. If you see Nora here, she's kind of like located near the window. She gets this soft and towards the afternoon bright indirect light, but she's in a spot where even like the sun hits her, she's always protected. She never like has her leaves burned. She has her shade moments. She has like the soft light, then she has some bright light, but it's never like too much for them to get burned. One thing you always need to remember, and this is especially for Monsteras and for like all the tropical plants, is that when they are exposed to this bright light, direct bright light, they get burned. They get the brown spots, this is like the burn. They get bleached, they have patterns. For Calathia's example, that is the perfect example for bleaching of the leaves. And the behavior is kind of weird and then you lose the plant. So if you think of the rainforest, how it really is in there, like the jungle, I'm kind of excited right now, but you get the idea. You don't have to, keep the plant unhappy because they will show it to you, but you have to kind of like read the signs. So for Monsteras, they might tolerate, some shade, but not too much. They cannot be in a shady environment for too long, or like some medium light. First of all, the first thing you're gonna see and you're gonna notice is that the plant does not grow. And you know what number one sign it is when it doesn't get too much light? You don't get the fenestrations, which we're gonna talk later. Now, when it comes to watering, this thing that you need to water it once per week does not apply. Every plant is different. Every plant has its own schedule depending on the work it has to do for the roots inside the pot. For Monsteras, especially the leaves, The aerial roots we're gonna talk soon, and generally the stems. For example, Nora here usually needs to be watered, let's say once every 1.5 weeks, 1 week, 2 weeks, depending on the work that she does. You always need to check the top 2 inches of the pot. And I can never stress this enough because Monstera specifically do not do well when the soil is too soggy. When they're overwatered, the first thing that has the issue is the roots inside because it makes them vulnerable to root rot, and this happens for most of the plants actually, but Monstera specifically, they're kind of like showing the signs a little bit delayed, so you will not understand it like at first, but then you will start to see the leaves are drooping, then you get some yellowing or some brown spots, then the stems become really like soft and kind of like losing the power. It creates like different symptoms that you don't like to see. You kind of feel very sad when you're looking at this. So always keep in mind, you have to check the 2 top inches of the soil. Just, I've shown this in the video with the banana trees. Just put the finger in there. Nothing's gonna happen. Check the plant how it's doing, okay? And only water it then. Now, one other thing that I'm gonna show you, and it's quite interesting. You need to have a very well-drained soil mix. What do I mean by that? There are some soils that have like this gel fertilizer in them, and it kind of like makes them very soggy. What do I mean by that? They don't dry up. They never ever dry up. And I have a perfect example for this, which is in my kitchen. I'm going to show you just in a bit. So follow me here. The soil, once it's watered and some time passes, let's say a week, 1.5 weeks, 2 weeks, it needs to be dried. It needs like to have the air in it. It needs this oxygenation in the soil, and for the roots of the plant to kind of recycle this air to give the power up to the plant. But this air and this like oxygenation has to go. If this does not happen in the soil, this means that it has like this gel fertilizer, which is not bad, it's shit. Again, I'm not going to be polite about this because my plants have suffered because of this, because maybe the plant shop did not know, but it gives a very hard time for the plants. So have a coconut coir mix with some perlite, some compost in it, and some like what was it, it's coconut coir, perlite, sand, and some compost in it. This is the best thing you can give, especially to monsteras, because they have this ongoing process inside the pot that the air has to, recycle itself like in the roots, to give this kind of development. And then monsteras, what they do, because they're climbing plants, they give this power first of all to the stems, then it travels to the leaves, and then to the aerial roots that they have, which are very beautiful, and I will show you also this later on. So they kind of have their own process because they're big plants and they're kind of like demanding. But if they don't have this well-drained soil, not good, not good. Let's, demonstrate this with the soils that I have in my kitchen, and you will understand exactly what I'm talking about. Let's do this. So let's talk about a little bit about the soil mixes and how to choose the best soil mix, especially for the monstera. So I have here 2 types of soil mix. This one here has some sand and perlite, organic compost, which it can be leaves, it can be potato skin, it can be eggshells, potato skin, this kind of stuff, which you can create as well. So it kind of like looks like this. It has a light brown color, and the test is this. You just throw some water on it, and then you just lay it on the floor and let it be, and you check how many days it takes for it to dry up. So this one took 2 to 3 days. It has this kind of like sand effect. Let me just do this again. Do you see this? And it proves that it is perfect for the monstera specifically, because it allows for the roots to be oxygenated, the recycling of the air is happening, and it is all good. The plant will be very happy in it. Now, on the other hand, this is a soil mix that it's not good. It has this dark brown color because it has the gel fertilizer in it. Nothing else, no organic compost, no sand, no perlite, no nothing. And the benefit of it, as people say, is that it actually makes the roots stronger and it gives power to the plant. But in reality, in the pot, the roots get stuck. There's no recycling of air, and it kind of, gives a hard time to the plant. If you touch it, it's still soggy after 4 to 5 days. This has been laid down for like 5 days now, and it looks like I'm holding very badly cooked meatballs. I know, kind of a shit example, but you get my idea. Uh, yeah, bad meatballs. Don't like this. Now, if you're not familiar with the Monstera plant, you might see some weird brown thingies hanging on from the stems, and you're like, what the hell is this? Nothing to be worried about. It's part of having a Monstera plant. Let's have some fun, and I will show you exactly what that is. Let's go. So, these are the weird thingies that are coming off the stems, and someone who's not familiar with the plant are like, what the hell are these? Nora has millions of them. I've lost count. And these are called the aerial roots of the plant, which helps them climb on other trees when they are in the rainforest. Because we have them in our houses in pots, they use these aerial roots to climb on the moss poles we have for them. And they can reach the floor. I will show you one that Nora has that actually reaches the floor, which is here, I think. Let me just go all the way down. Yeah, it's here. Okay, here it is. This one here. And it just goes all the way down. Ta-da! You see this, right? Yeah. So, they use this to climb. You can cut them off if you want, to have the plant area root free. But, I kind of like them. It gives a more jungle and, natural vibe to the plant. But nothing will happen if you cut them off, okay? Nothing will happen at all. There is also another interesting thing that happens with the area roots, which I find them to be amazing, is sometimes they grow themselves from the downside of the stems, like the top down part of the stems, and they just throw themselves in the pot. This happens because it helps the plant to absorb some extra moisture, to give it to the area roots, to the stems, to the leaves. It's kind of like an additional food source, as I call it sometimes. And they do it so smartly without you realizing it, because it's like, what are you going to do with this? And then you see that they're kind of directing it to go into the pot. It's amazing what they can do. Let me show what Nora has done with her roots, which she has so many roots in the soil that it's kind of extra food. Let me show you. This is the first and biggest area root that was outside of the pot, and then she directed it by herself inside the soil. Do you see this? It's inside, and it gives her this extra boost when she needs to. This is what's going on in here as well. Some other roots are hanging from here, as you can see. In the back, this is happening as well. And the other root that does the trick here is this one. It's amazing what they can do, and they direct it all by themselves. So you can cut a few if you want to, but I suggest for you to keep them like this because it just gives them a very natural vibe, and it gives them this extra power boost when they need to. Now, when it comes to propagation, it is very easy to propagate a Monstera plant as long as you do a perfect cutting. What do I mean by that? You can't just cut a stem with a leaf and you're done. You put it in water and everything's okay. There is a specific process that you need to do, which is quite simple, and I will show you. And then you can leave it in the water for a couple of weeks, maybe close to a month. And then you can just put it in the soil and you will have a new Monstera plant. Let me demonstrate this on the other Monstera that I have, because he has more space in between the stems, so I can show you exactly when to do the clear cut for the propagation. This is Jerry, my other Monstera that is sitting across from Nora in front of the window. And all you need to do when you want to propagate a Monstera, a Monstera cutting, is this. you find the stem and the leaf, like anything you like, and then you just, locate the area root that is here, and then you just cut it here. See? Here. And then you just put it into water. In a few weeks, like maybe a month, you will see roots coming out of it. So then it is time to transfer it into the soil, and then you will soon have another Monstera plant. Now, the same process happens for the pruning, which you can actually do the same exactly thing. It will kind of like give a stimulation signal for the Monstera, because they kind of need this signal so they can again start to show new growth and develop again their stems. If you do that, if it comes to propagation or pruning, you will be totally okay. Now, when it comes to potential problems you might face with Monsteras, there are two categories. One is pests, and the other one is when you do not take very good care of the Monstera. Now, pests. Monsteras are not known to have like too many pest problems because they're not like very fuzzy to take care of them, but you might see some mealybugs or fungus gnats or this fruit flies as we call them, but this happens because of two reasons. Either like the Monstera is like overwatered, and if the soil is like not well drained or it keeps like a lot of water, especially on the surface of the pot, it attracts them. So if you notice this, it might be time to change the soil mix of the plant, which, trust me, it will save you a lot of time, because I had the same thing with my Alocasia poly, and when I immediately changed the soil, it did wonders and the plant is perfectly happy now. Or the second reason is when one of the plants next to your Monstera is overwatered. Anyway, pull back off, from the watering. Let the soil dry, open the windows, create some air circulation in the room. Again, even if you open the windows and the soil is not drying up, like no way of drying up, just change the soil. It will save you a lot of time. I guarantee that. I had this for so long. It can completely frustrate you, and I get that. Just change the soil. Miracle. Ta-da, you're done. Now, the other problems when it comes to caring for a Monstera. It either happens when you don't have a good watering schedule and you don't check the plant and what it needs, or you kind of like not letting it have the fun with the sunlight. So I've taken some time to experiment, and I've written some things down because, it's like a good way of knowing what's going on exactly. So I will have this with me because it will keep me kind of in check. Sometimes it's a lot of information and I don't want to, confuse this kind of things. So the first potential problem, the brown and crispy edges on the leaves. Two reasons for that. It's either underwatered, which if you find out that you water the plant and the brown edges disappear, that means that underwatering was the problem. The other problem is specifically with the water, that it might have too much of calcium or salt buildup, which you can check this very easily. If you drop like some water in the sink and then it has this kind of like whitish texture, residue, then it has calcium and salt in it, which you can easily move on from that if you just boil the water and then water the plants. Okay, I do not mean boil them and then directly throw it at it. You let it cool off, and then you just water the plants once it is like, a little bit cold. Now, second issue, the wilting of the leaves when the soil is dry. Now, might be again underwatering. If you water it and then the leaves just go all the way up, you're fine. The other reason that this might happen is if it's pot bound, or you have like to trim it. Okay, when we say pot bound, it means that if you check like, the bottom surface of the pot, if it has like the drainage holes, you will see that the roots are coming out. This is when the plant is pot bound, which means that you have to repot it. Now, for Monsteras, because they have this, they create, how do I call this? They create these kind of like boxes with the roots, and if it's pot bound, it doesn't allow for the plant to be watered. It doesn't allow for the roots to absorb this water. So the leaves are starting like to wilt and they're kind of like droopy. So if you keep watering the plant and you see this wilting happening, then it might be time to trim it off a little bit because it consumes a lot of energy. or you need to repot it into a kind of like bigger pot, okay? So it will do wonders for them if you do that. Okay, third one, which is the most common one, yellowing with bright leaves and black stems. This is because of overwatering. If you don't follow a watering schedule that, is directed to the plant specifically, not because you have in your mind, okay, it's once per week, I will do that, and you just drown the plant or you water it every day. No, it creates black stems because it weakens it. The plant does not have the time to go in there and absorb the water. If you keep watering it, it will be an endless cycle of always having water like in the pot. You're just like, imagine as if you are underwater and you're not allowed to breathe. This is exactly what you do when you overwater a plant. So check the soil, always check the soil. I will never stop saying this because sometimes people create this kind of like idea in their heads and they're just kind of follow that. And sometimes it's beyond me. Sometimes I get very upset, but then I try to be like very calm and I'm like, you know what? You have to explain this again and again. And I get this, but check the plant. It's not like what you need. It's what they need. They're living organisms. Check the 2 top inches. It will be fine. Don't follow a rule that you have created in your own head. This is the most common mistake that I've seen, all because of one common myth. Water it once per week. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. If you want to take good care of your plants and actually for them to be happy with you, this is the number 1 rule that I have to say to you, especially with monsteras. But it follows every plant. One simple rule. Check the 2 top inches of the soil. You will be fine after that. And the last and very common thing that I've noticed as well is the leaves curling but still kind of like green. So you don't see any yellow spots or brown spots, but you see this kind of, the leaves turn inwards and you kind of don't see the whole leaf. You just see kind of them doing a weird thing. So root bound, again, they need to be repotted because they do not get all the hydration from the water. Like if you water them, it doesn't arrive in the roots. So it just goes in specific places. So one leaf is okay, the other one is curling, the other one is wilting. This thing is going to happen. Simply give them a little bit of space by repotting them in a bigger pot. It can also happen if you underwater it, which again, it's, below the root bound, which is the first cause. But if you still underwater the plant, it doesn't get the equal hydration. So again, you will see weird shapes with the leaves, drooping, wilting, this kind of thing. So yellow leaves in general, this is the last thing and it's the most common one. Few reasons. The plant does not want the leaf anymore. Sometimes you see yellow leaves and you're kind of freaking out. I have this thing sometimes as well, but especially in early spring, it can happen a lot because most of the times the plant needs to have new growth. And the number 1 signal is to drop off some old leaves that they don't want anymore. Or some new leaves that, they just decided they don't want it because they're planning for something new to come up. So what they do immediately, they yellow the leaves that they don't want. So all you need to do is just remove it and they will be okay. The other thing that it can happen if you see just yellowing leaves, nothing brown, just yellowing, it's because you overwatered it again. So it's kind of not serving any purpose if you do that all the time. So again, check the soil. If there is a yellow leaf and you see that the soil mix is a little bit soggy specifically, or it's too moist, you need to pull back and just let it be. Open the window, it will be fine. Otherwise, if the soil is in a very good moisture and you're letting the plant absorb the water and then you water it again and you check it, it means that there is some yellowing happening because it does not want the leaf. So this is all I need, to give you from my experiment that I've done with monsteras. Also, I need to tell you one more thing. When it comes to repotting, don't forget either early spring or late winter. Do not do it, all over the place unless the soil mix is really shitty. Do not do it otherwise. Okay, don't do it like generally because something hit you, because they get very shocked, and then that's when you will see the yellow leaves. This is another problem that most people don't know. You know, monstera specifically are very like kind of like vulnerable to shock, and this can happen because you're repotting them in a very like terrible time, or because they don't really like to be moved from that place that they are right now. They only like to be moved if the soil mix is like shit, or if they do not feel well in the pot. If you see yellow leaves and you're doing everything correctly, it means that they're either shocked by their environment and something's not quite right, or when you did some repotting and they're like a little bit, I don't like it here right now, I don't like it here right now. So be careful a little bit with them. They're not like quite fuzzy, but there are like some specific problems that the plant is telling you, and you need to know, 100% on the spot. Now, I want to thank you so much for watching. If you like my videos, you can subscribe like at the bottom. You can also follow my profile, The Green Wanderlust. It's exactly the same name. And if you have specific questions in regards to your monstera, you can let me know on Instagram. You can let me know on the comments here in the bottom. I will reply specifically to you because you might have some specific questions that you need to have an answer to. So I will be very happy to help you. Now, I will see you next week again with another video. I don't know which plant is going to be yet. If you have any ideas, you can let me know. But, it can be fiddle leaf figs. Let's try that, fiddle leaf figs. I just saw my fiddle leaf there, so I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to do a video on that. So, I will see you next week. I hope you have a fantastic week ahead. Bye!